Good morning, everybody. We got Lady Hippy at the bar this morning. My, of course, favorite right place to be. You seem to be a little up character here this morning. I don't know why. It threw me into live quick. And I see now I'm popping up on live here. I got a few more viewers, couple subscribers. I was over the moon this morning. Ah, yeah. Gonna see it probably in the local news. Old lady runs around house like crazy. Oh, that's a happy thing. Yes, it is. I can't say I saw much this morning that did make me happy. Again, I'm still avoiding the news. I just feel better with it that way. Hang on a second. I'm going to try to flip these, see if this will work. Of course, I can still talk to you. I just can't hear as well as I can with my headphones on. And I have to stick them behind this piece here. Yes, because then they will hold it for me. I'm pretty small and have a small head. Okay. So at least that line was annoying. It's coming up closer and closer to getting my granddaughter to do the interview with her, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And once again, it's for entertainment purposes only, even if I am an old lady and hippie at a bar, which happens to be the bar at our house. I don't know if everybody saw. I'm just going to talk to y'all like I normally do. I don't know if any of y'all saw, but my husband brought, yesterday was Valentine's Day, by the way. Of course, everybody remembers that. I don't think everybody had a great day. He brought home a huge RV. The side comes out, you drive it. It's a bus. Takes up the entire driveway. I can't wait. He bought it so that I could go out again. With my back, I can't sit upright against it for very long, and it's kept me from doing a lot of things that I still want to do that technically I hope I have time for. We're not sure yet. Of course, it's used. It's not new. It is paid for. That's the part I like. And you don't jump in and pay payments for 7 years, and by the time you've walked out the door, it's already lost half of its value. So why not buy it at a different rate and slightly older? It's gorgeous. He's already got new marble in there. Then he's fixing things here and there. It's a beautiful camper. And like I said, and the side that comes out, it's got the awning that comes over, yeah, and it's drivable. Is the thing he wanted to. Let me pull this back, maybe a different bit. I think we're getting an echo, but his fishing boat's ready, and finally, bless him, he's retired. He's at home, go fishing like for a week. So, give me a break. Do that or give me the car keys. I'll be back next week. I really don't think our rescues would do well on that. Um, let's see. I did throw some pictures up on Facebook, and it is a wonderful RV. It's got everything, the shower, all this stuff, as our older one did as well. But this one, he can drive it, and we'll just go glamping when we want to. The neat thing is, like I said, he got it for me so I could go with him places. I'm not much of a fisher person, so it's cheaper than him renting me a hotel room while he goes fishing. Smart man. But it needed a few things done, a little housework. It had been sitting there waiting for someone to purchase it, and MacGyver here, he couldn't figure out exactly what was missing on there that it was giving him fits about the motors and stuff. It's got like 4 batteries, for God's sakes. If you're my friend, you're on my Facebook, you know what I'm talking about. It's literally, it's like a Wonder Lunch. And I hear him fidgeting again. So, and I had seen it. He had taken me up to see it, and I knew he had bought it. He and paid for it, right there. He doesn't play around, thank God, with the payment thing. He doesn't do that. And that always annoys me that when I get online, all my stuff is askew. I don't know what that's about, but you've got the dangerously askewed Lady Hippie. Of course, I'm so old that I don't. The flowers that I have, I keep those now, and I have to give those away. I think I'm in a good mood because it's a beautiful day outside. It's going to be 73 today. Love Georgia. So I'm going to actually run uptown, do my usual, run through, past traffic. I hate 20, and you have to go through where 20 exits and 20 ramp goes on. So that's my only, part I don't care. When I go to the VA, which is around the back side of the house, you go out the other way. And I don't like that either. it's, it's just bumper to bumper traffic. Got to go by the mall, things like that. And I'm one of those that basically, I don't know if anybody told you the stories out there. You may not have heard from me before, but I used to take mass transit everywhere, and I was always in a huge city, and like running 3 hospitals at a time. I kid you not. And so, and to pay to park your car was like $1,000 a year, and even in the '90s, that was, you were like, huh? What? So, and this is my second marriage, which thank God has worked out fairly well. We're going in our 34th anniversary this August. So when we met, he carted me around. He took me everywhere I needed to go, and we met when I was 30, and we married when I was almost 34. And he decided that I should drive because we had moved to Georgia. Georgia doesn't do mass transit; they do dirt roads. So he was like, "Yeah," and we of course both worked, and it was time for me to get a license. So he gave me a car with the pink slip and said, "You've got till you're 35, and then I want you to have a license because you need to get around." Because literally, somebody would have to drive me to the store 2 blocks away. So it's like, I guess he's tired of being the chauffeur. This is after we've gone back to Texas and we've married and we've come back because we married in San Antonio. So of course I parked and tried and drove up and down the driveway for 6 months. I kid you not, 6 months. We went out and he took me to the easiest license place that he could, which is a town called Perry. And you get in your car and you make a right. You go through a couple of neighborhoods, and then it brings you right back up to the police department where you do your parallel parking and your test is done. Now, of course, I aced the written test. That was 100%, not a problem. And I don't know how I passed the driving test because I went up to the stop sign and she said, "Make a right here." And I turned on the right signal and I promptly turned left. My husband's sitting on a picnic bench and he's dying laughing. Like, and I'm comfortable. I know I've done blown it for the day. I'm not gonna get it. And so I do the rest of the test. I come in and she passed me. She was laughing so hard she could barely stand up, but she passed me. And this was like, I think it might have been on my birthday or a few days before. And so, here I have my car. We're driving home, and I expected him to drive us home. Still, he wasn't having it. You're going to drive home. You've got to be able to do this. And he was right. There's like no transportation. And I worked in Perry, and I lived in another city, so I had to do like a 30-mile run back and forth to work. Either way, and I worked in Warner Robins at the base. I worked at the hospitals, chiropractors, you know, did a lot of jobs. So he was right. I needed to, and he too had his hands full, and our hours were and usually were different. In San Antonio, he would when we had the one vehicle. I didn't want to drive. I just never had the urge to after I got out of the military. I drove while I was in the military, so he was, running me to work early, and then he'd have to go on to work, and he'd still be early. And then he got off at like 5, and I got off at like freaking 2. So I took the bus back to the apartments. But then we moved because the apartment complexes are like the same everywhere. They give you a 6-month lease if you're lucky. I think we got a year lease for the first time that we rented it, and then they raised it $25. We stayed another 6 months to give us time to look around because we knew they were going to keep singing us. So and I enjoyed it because it had the pool and all that, But we didn't even have a laundry hookup. It was a great apartment, and it's where we lived when I got married. And it was a wonderful wedding. We had a blast, and we both looked good. It was surprising me in my 30s. And my son, he gave me away. He looked great in that tuxedo. The minute he would come in the door, he had a tuxedo. Come on, honey, the photographers are here. Put the tux back on. He had to redress him like 4 times. but we had a lot of friends. And I think we had such a great time of it because we didn't have any family there but my son. And he was too young to argue anything. So it's like, okay, we're good. But that's the roundup of why I drive. And then, of course, my eyesight started failing. And I'm a voracious reader. Um, like Robert tends to tell people that I was reading college level at 9, and I was. And I did not go to Mensa. I didn't want to. I didn't skip classes and go up 4 grades. None of that. I had friends in the neighborhood, and I wanted to be just like them. Yes, I knew 2 or 3 years ahead what stuff was coming down the road at. That was fun. It really messed with the teachers' heads, huh, man? Yeah, you know this. Well, I finished your book 2 years ago. Wasn't allowed to keep you running around back those days. I mean, you had to go outside. It's snowing, Mom. Okay, come back later. Hey, Mom, it's raining out. Well, make sure you get your raincoat and get out. They didn't. There was no nonsense thing with the kids. Kids knew, even adopted as I was, go outside. It's 32 below. Build a fort. In Chicago, when Chicago was hot, it was blooming freaking hot. We didn't have AC, and you could. There was plenty of shade, lots of trees. So, all your friends would come by and stuff, and we had this big lot beside us. And my dad was going to put it on an in-ground pool in, but they wanted so much money to pay this and pay that that he just decided not to do it. It would have been twice the cost, and then the pool cost of it, on top. And they weren't rich, so we just kind of mowed the lawn and kept it clean. It's just this big field next door, which we didn't care to have there that much. And again, my eyes have decided to bother me. But I actually grew smarter and got some tissue. And if you'll excuse me, I don't know if it's something in my eye, but again, at this stage of my life, I've got my ophthalmologist going, don't wear makeup. I'm like, have you lost your mind? Of course, I'm going to wear makeup. Might be 2 new lenses in there, which I admit is the wildest thing. When you wake up and you're on TV, that's bad enough because you're like, oh my God, I'm old and fat. Camera puts on 10 pounds my ass. It puts on 40. So I'm like, okay, I got to get through this one. And then, of course, with the artificial lenses. So I have trouble sometimes in the mornings, and they have to be treated 3 times a day for the rest of my life. So I'm real happy about that. Can't you tell? But, I mean, it was a little scary to know what they were doing, which is taking out my lenses. And, they were scrape them and put them back. It would have been my own eyes, of course. They didn't do that. They put in the artificial lenses. And so now I have these bright, vivid green eyes. And before, I had like a forest dark green because they were hazel. So everybody could see from my eyes that either I was angry or I was happy or whatever, because my eyes would change colors. And of course, my family knew me well enough to go run. She's getting PO'd. It's like, at first, Chicago, you don't really take a lot of crap. Actually, you don't take any crap, because if you took crap when you got home, somebody else in the family was going to not be very kind to you, we'll put it that way. And which is another reason, because I was like 4'3" as a freshman. Already hand Rotsy and stuff. I'm 4'3". Been in karate classes since I was 9, still 4 foot, Which again comes in handy when they underestimate a woman who's young and small. That always gave me the advantage. That's what karate's about. You can use the strengths against them. And finally, and I did good. I thought I never made enemies, but twice. Um, and I cleared those up fairly quickly, let me tell you. Uh, I remember a girl sucker punching me one time. I walked into the NCO club and I just talked to Sergeant Green, and I turned to walk in and just this fist hit me in the face, flew back a couple of feet. I was like, what the? Yeah. And I see this woman. I don't know this woman from Adam, I didn't care. It was on. There was no, dust yourself off and ask you what your problem is. It was on. And when I got through wiping a couple of tables with her and beating her head to the floor, they got her out of there. And there's her again. She did try to say that, I had done something, I had started it. But it turned out, it's a non-commissioned officers club is what an NCO club is. So Sergeant Green was there every night. Uh, you know, they had certain protocols to keep all of us drunk and without hurting each other. But this broad knew me from nowhere, and somebody apparently had told her I was going to date her something along a boyfriend. I didn't know who that was. I went to the NCO club to dance and to have fun and to see my friends. I didn't go there to date. I didn't believe in all that stuff. And I hadn't found anybody that I thought was worth 2 cents. And I'm not going to, I mean, it's just the way I was. Yeah, it's good to be a friend, but you're not in my level, and that wouldn't work. Even dating wouldn't have worked. So I think I dated a couple of people, and after the first date, I was like, "It's been nice knowing you." I wasn't that good at this stuff. Mhm. I said, "Okay, we're going to keep this running." And ended up, I had a fiance, and he was Catholic and believed like me that certain things, especially sex, were not to be thrown around. Maybe after one's married. So even though I was engaged, that this stuff just did not go on. And he had a fit because he was going into the army. It was leaving in a little while, and I had also enlisted. And I told him I was going to go Army. I was just waiting for the time when I could have the parents sign it and go on to late entry. And he just did not like that. He wanted his women at home, pregnant, cooking, and it was like, you don't know me, and I'll do. Back with the ring. Here you go, babe. We'll be friends. And he was great. I mean, we're still friends to this day. I mean, he has a wonderful life. He married a little Korean woman, great girl. I think they have 7 or 8 kids, so he's very happy. So that turned out well for him, and I'm happy that was so. And we, like I said, we're still friends. And he was one of the few that, and I didn't realize that at the time as to why I had no offers for dates or dances or any of those things. Apparently, my brother was working behind the scenes of "you touch my sister, I will kill you" kind of thing. So I don't know what my other sister was doing. I don't, I never hardly saw her, even though we were a year and a half apart. I couldn't. Our school was so big; and it was miles of school. We had the big nuclear tunnel with the nuclear signs underneath, and so sometimes in the winter you would go to the. You can't. To me, it wasn't even a tunnel. I think of the IDF tunnels, and this thing could have run a train through it. Nice marble, all that stuff. Plenty of room. It went all over. It was great in the winter because you still had swim class lessons and your hair would freeze on your way back. So the smokers all walked back, and most of my friends smoked. I did not. I took up smoking. Yes, I did. Mm, Get that one out. My husband doesn't like me to have that many. So yeah, they told us smoke them if you got them, and the rest of us stayed at parade rest. We were still standing there. I was like, "Can I borrow a cigarette?" Well, of course, I turned green, but I knew if I was going to have to take a break, and I had the most rank, so technically, those with the rank work harder, believe it or not, than those who are underneath them. Because they have to take care of everything. So I didn't like that. I'm bossy, but at first I didn't like that. But I got me my cigarettes. Started out with cool menthol. I'll never forget. Used to sit underneath the Marlboro poster, and it used to be, oh, what was his name? Uh, it used to be Sam Elliott was one of them. Tom something. But in any event, that's how it went. And so, yeah, I didn't get into too many bar fights. I had a couple. They were warned, and they didn't think I was going to do anything. And they found out real quick. Oh, holy shit. She's nuts. I never told them I fought fair. No, I just told them this is your second warning. Now the third one, it's on, and it was. And being a smaller woman from Chicago, I had brothers, cousins, the boys, and they knew I took karate, gymnast, archery, all that stuff. So they took turns teaching me certain things, and I used them as practice dummies to continue my karate studies. My brother wouldn't even do that one with me. He's like, no, you're not throwing me around the house. 13 years older and smarter he was. But yeah, so we did all that. They don't have that down here. And I'm so sorry to see my grandkids doing, very little as far as school. Although my granddaughter is like me, she enjoys some of the school, but she really enjoys seeing her friends. And in summertime, you don't see your friends. I didn't either. They went on vacations and so forth. And so I understood where she was coming from. And I didn't know what to tell her because my world of escape was books. We didn't have TV. We had a black and white TV with the antenna, and the tinfoil out the window, you know. But the only thing you had out there was soap operas and baseball. Didn't care for either one. We did enjoy getting to see the Globetrotters. If they were coming on television, Mom would have me, and Mama didn't go out. She just kind of stopped going out. And she would have me run to the grocery store to get some peanut butter and celery sticks because we could have that as a snack while we watched the Harlem Globetrotters. And I adored them, and I always will. But that was pretty much TV. And my brother gave me a little black and white TV. And again, it was the antenna with the foil, and you were out the window. And okay, hold on. Look, there's David Cassidy. Just stand right there. But meanwhile, I didn't see my sister very much. She was off doing her thing, and I didn't think too much about it. It turned out all my life with my sister, I never knew she was so angry or that it had turned to hatred. She she hid that light under a bushel, except that the entire family knew, and they didn't tell me, which that was so helpful. I mean, so when she's passing away, I find out that she she had a problem with me, and it really shocked me and hurt me. I was the big sister. I had done everything I could to make sure she had a decent life, and these things. So it was a real shocker. But as we all know, the family gonna get you every time without a doubt. If you have siblings, older or younger, it doesn't matter. Something will go wrong. Unfortunately for her, uh, the adoptive parents, not my mother, but the adopted father, would start fights with her about me. And I would come in and I wouldn't know what was going on. She'd just run at me and attack. She couldn't fight. She was smaller. She couldn't fight. She had never been trained to fight. So I ended up sitting on the floor on top of her because she wouldn't. She was like me. She went back down, and I would have hurt her. And finally, I believe my brother Chuck told my dad, "That's enough of that. She doesn't want to hurt her sister, and her sister's nuts." So that kind of stopped. So I was real grateful on that part. All of a sudden, like I keep saying, 1 minute you're 15 and you think the world is never going to get to where you can go and leave home. That was what I wanted. And her problem was that I did leave home. Yeah, I went in the army and went around the world. I didn't live in Chicago ever again. And she never left until she finally moved to Wisconsin with some boyfriend after her husband died. And unfortunately, even her children didn't get along with her. And I didn't know any of this because, again, we weren't that close. And I didn't understand it, but I didn't push the issue. So there's another little family nut in the tree. A lot of people say I should write a book. I'm like, nah. If I've written one, but and I've published a book, but that's not what it's just a terrible subject. People think about these if they find their family or whatever. That's a great thing. No, no, it's not. It's not. Uh, it can be, I'm sure, for many people. But if you have, I think I see better now. If you have 30 years between you and when you were adopted, you get to know them peripherally, but don't let them know nothing about you, really. Don't give phone numbers, addresses, that stuff. Just a card on Christmas is really good. It works for me. Again, I see a lot of people don't realize that the world is different outside the city that they live in, were raised in, and now are raising their own children. The closest they've gone to is maybe the neighboring city, 12 miles away on a dirt road. Mm. But those old dirt roads are kind of fun and can be anyway, but that's another story. I've seen again where California is having so many troubles with weather and fire, and it's, things coming down, mudslides, $1 million homes sliding down. I'm like, oh my god! And you can see there's like another half a dozen on the precipice there, maybe a little bit back, but I'm thinking, they can't sell these places even properly now because everybody knows that even Ellen DeGeneres had to be water rescued from her home. It was that bad of flooding. And then my husband actually saw that one. He came down to show me what it was. He was in the man cave, and they had in Saudi Arabia it was so flooded that, of course, they had miles of cars stuck in the water. Some of them are still going by. It's just like they would might make it. No, there they go. So they have, but they're not. It's the desert. It's Saudi Arabia. It's the desert. Um, I had said, I think yesterday, the day before that, suddenly this one girl was taking pictures of 4 days because of all the water. And on the fourth day, uh, the the desert was in bloom. Period. It was like people had been planting out there for 100 years. It was the most amazing thing. I saw water shoot up from the ground through the sand. I saw water shooting out of sand dunes. I was like, so that's how they did the flood. It's just smart ass. But at the same time, I had never ever seen that. I also saw a clip where the entire section of greenery and plants were going up like a foot and down and up and down. And this was trees, huge trees on this, ferns. I mean, little moss. I don't remember where this was at. And I remember thinking, okay, that what? I've never seen the earth breathe until that day. And then they tried to say it was natural. And I got a bridge out back I'm not using. So, well, we bought that. It's they didn't also explain to folks, and I used to love going to all the museums in Chicago. They've got great museums. I was never one for the dinosaur type thing. Other things interested me, but I did find out later on that the reason they were actually painted, was because they had to use lead paint because they were all radioactive. Now, I'm not sure. I know there were three tie-offs. The last one 60 million years ago, but I don't think anything was radioactive around here at the time. At least not in what they've taught us. There wasn't anything like that going on. So who was nuking the dinosaurs? Because somebody did. Mohenjo-daro is another place. I think it's actually in Pakistan, but it's a heritage protected site. But Mohenjo-daro I mean, still radioactive. God knows when they were hit, but definitely automatic weapons. Not automatic, but atomic weapons had been used um, in several different places. There's a place, I think it's Saudi Arabian desert. It used to be. You would go out and they called it Trinidad or Trinitite, but it's green glass. And they would use it for decorative things, beautiful things they could do with this. But it was caused by the sand being hit by a nuke. Okay, so when did that happen? It's like, and they don't put that down in the history books. Your science teacher's not going to say, put your books down. I got a story for you. You had to find all this out. Mr. Van Daniken, as everybody knows, is one of my favorites. Mr. Casey, the sleeping prophet, as he was known, and he healed thousands of people with natural remedies, and that's who he was allowed only to work on were those who were terminal. And he left behind, thanks to a brilliant secretary and his wife and his children, 14,000, almost 15,000 readings that he had done. And he had some trouble with that because he was a Baptist preacher, basically. He didn't preach, but he taught Sunday school, but he was adamantly brought up as a Baptist and thoroughly believed everything in the book of, I believe he would have studied the James Bible. But in any event, when he was in I forget what he called that, a trance state, he could reach the Akashic records. And he said there would be this little monk there He would say, "Okay, this is the person, and they are over here." And he would say this out loud. He would say, "Well, I've got her. She's in pink pajamas. She's on the second floor. She's got a fever of 102. She kidneys is doing this, and I can see out past in. The heart is fine. Oh, here it is. They didn't say she fell. She fell somewhere, and this is what's killing her. They need to have someone come in and do an adjustment on her spine, and she'll be fine." And she was supposed to have been purportedly near death. And this is back in the telegraph days. They didn't pick up a phone back then. You had to be kind of rich to have a phone or have somebody else that would actually call you so you could use the phone. And so, that's why I said they did an admirable thing. And you could still go up to see his things and look at those, or you can look them up online. uh, Hair loss. This man just in his trances, if he was asked about it, he definitely had information on it. And again, it was he had this little librarian that would show up when he got there, and it to me it's the book of life that everybody talks about. You'll be judged by the book of life. Well, the Egyptian dead book says this, and the Tibetan dead book says this, and your own Bible says this. So at some point, somebody's going to point their finger at us and go, "You did what?" So they're like Santa Claus, naughty or nice, and they know. And I totally believe this because I've crossed to the other side a couple of times, and I've actually died twice at least. And it's so wonderful, it's so beautiful. You can't describe it in our languages. There's no description for what the other side is like. There is my description of when they send me back and I get real PO'd because I hurt like everywhere and it should be dead because nothing bothered me when I was up there. And all of my animals, I can't wait to see again. I remember John Edwards. He's a fairly good psychic. And 10, 20 years ago, he came out and started doing the readings live audience. And one woman, he said, "I just see horses and dogs and cats." And he said, "Did you have a lot of animals?" And she said, "I did. I have my own pet cemetery on my property." And he said, "Well, they're waiting on you, but you're the first one that I've ever talked to or ever done this for, uh, that the animals came through and wanted you." And I thought, oh, it's a shame he couldn't have seen Betty White before she crossed over. And John Edwards is very good at what he does. I mean, he would pick up, say what he was catching, and then someone in the audience would go, "That's me." He'd get a name, he'd get something, and they would recognize what was going on. And so that's me. So he's another for the 21st century as a go-to for me. It would be John Edwards. He's the best I've seen in either the 20th, late 20th, and the early 21st century, and he's good at what he does. Although he did, I think his health suffered because Mr. Casey's did. It took a lot out of him to do a reading, and he was warned that he couldn't do him on the rate that he was doing him. And it was people telegramming him, were their son still alive? Are they safe? Because he was in the war or shame, whatever. And he couldn't say no to them. He kept going and trying to find out so he could tell the parents. And it's, a lot of the cases, it wasn't good news. They just had not known that they were at KIA. They didn't know where they were when they were passed away. Some were, of course, buried over in Europe. The French have a beautiful ground for American, the fallen of America. Yeah. In Europe, it's like that everywhere. Europe has had wars for recorded history, which would be 6,000 years plus or whatever. So we know they didn't get along ever. It's kind of like the United States at this point. I watched again as it's trickled now. They do have a handle on who's coming across the Texas border side. And there are many governors that are working with Governor Abbott on this. And again, the federal government is still trying to yank it down and let them go in. We don't know what the heck is wrong with these people, but that's what they're trying to do. And they're pretty good at that. Again, my eyes bother me. I remember when I lived in Texas, this was a problem even then. And we're a melting pot. It's what we're supposed to be, and we're proud to be such. And we welcome everyone. But you can't welcome 11.5 million people in a year not knowing who they are, what they're doing, where they're going. You can't do that to keep the country safe. Which these politicians knew this, of course. They've been there 40, 50 years. And I can't figure out how they could possibly be voted back in. Because truthfully, at my point, they'd have been fired after the first 4 years if they could figure out what they needed to do by then get out. And you got people who are dying there, like Senator Kennedy. I mean, Ed Kennedy. He held that seat till he died. Then they gave it, I'm pretty sure they gave it to Hillary Clinton so she could have a jump off, besides being the worst first lady like ever. Oh, he only got caught diddling who in the Oval Office? Oh, and she's just fine with it. She's standing up there. Well, he's sorry. He'd be dead. I mean, such an abusive power. And nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. He got away with it again. He had already done that when he was governor twice. And that time, we don't know how he found the money, but he paid her 400,000, I believe it was. Jennifer Flowers was the young lady in question who'd been having an affair with her for 10 years. So that started before he was governor, even because he had run as governor and won twice. So for that 8 years, she was already a steady rock. So I don't know what Hillary did. I keep seeing, and Biden too. This is the thing I don't get. The man is loony as a coon. I'm telling you, he can't spell cat when it's written on the paper in front of him. This man is totally in dementia at this point, and they can't hide it anymore. And he's got another year to screw the country up some more by like opening the borders again. And the governor is going, we can't do this. Our people are dying. They're killing people. They're stealing from people. Da 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 da. It's not like everybody is a great girl and carrying a kid in their arms. These are mainly men that are coming in. Yeah, there's some, and they needed the help. I'm sure they'll get it. But at the same time, most of us feel that that's wrong because at this point in this country's life, that they need to pushing money into our infrastructure, making them tiny houses so people aren't homeless, so that they can work with an address. It's really hard to find a job if you don't, especially nowadays, if you don't have a phone, if you don't have a website address or an email address, if you don't have any of those things, nobody's going to hire you. You haven't had a bath in a week because they won't let you in the bathroom. You have the sanctuary cities. I don't need. It's like San Francisco. It's not a city. It reminds me of the one that where Kurt Russell played Snake Plissken, I think, or Plissken. It was a very odd name, is why I remember it. But they had taken down Air Force One going over to New York, and the entire city of New York was now a prison. And walled in and outside, they kept them in, and we'll shoot you if you come out. But he was to go in and get the president and get out of there. And that just didn't happen. This has been like 100 years or whatever in the future. But and then they shot this little thing in his head and said, if you don't bring him out in time, that explodes. It's like, oh, okay. And when you take this out, you're going to have some explosions sometime. But he managed just to get, I think people know the movie. I can't remember it. Escape from New York, I think they called it. Long time ago, probably 40 years ago. But that's what it reminds me of now. New York does look like this movie set that they filmed of the most horrific criminals and still being horrific criminals, albeit in one place. So I don't get that either. But if anybody hasn't seen that movie, I'm sure you Google it and look it up, and you will be astonished at how close this runs together. Science fiction, if you ask me, has always been ahead of the curve. If it's in science fiction, 50 years later, it now becomes reality. It's very strange. But I love science fiction. Always have. People don't realize, too, how smart people are, like Hedy Lamarr. Beautiful woman, pinup actress. But they wouldn't. I think they did actually take her plans. She had written on a napkin. I think they were at the Brown Derby, how to find a frequency that they could, break in on the Germans, uh, talking back and forth. And also, she had come up with sonar. And she had drawn it all out, what they needed to use and to build this thing. And was never given the credit for the fact that she actually invented sonar and a radar and a way to actually break through and find out what the Nazis said. So it wasn't just the Enigma machine, but Hedy Lamarr was never given credit for that, and she didn't care. She was that was the lady, and that's what I miss that too nowadays. Um, in most cases, you can't tell which one's the boy or the girl anymore. I think it's sad. You know, it was great when men wore suits and women wore suits and hats and gloves and yeah, can you think of the closets? There for a while, I took a medication that I couldn't actually be in direct sunlight. I would turn orange. So I had all of these hats, the big floppy beach type hats that went with different sundresses and stuff. So I wore those for a couple of years. So I enjoyed that. I love a good hat. I love, even to this day, being a businesswoman anyway, I wore a lot of either a uniform or like at a hotel, I would have a uniform. Uh, I always dressed as business, and so I had most of my clothes were for that world, and still are. I still prefer to jump through a dress, especially I love the floor length dresses for summer because it's so much easier to just throw that on a nice pair of shoes. You don't have to have hose. Throw a slip in there, and they're comfortable. So I like that, and I prefer those. But I see too many of us in jeans and sweatpants. Ladies, I don't know what it is with the workout pants or the sweatpants, but give them up. The skinny jeans on the men, don't buy them. They make you look terrible. There's only a few men that can pull off skinny jeans. It's the same, I think, as the theater having men back in the day, say in the 40s and 50s, making movies like Maid Marian, and they wore tights. And there's a good funny one that Mel Brooks put out, Men in Tights or something like that. As funny as it could be. But you could only certain men could wear those and pull those off. Otherwise, they just look like a dressed up chicken. I mean, the chicken legs went around. But now you look back at the 40s and the 50s, even 30s, these people look smart. They dressed very well. And they changed clothes during the day for evening wear. Just like when I used to come home from school, you got out of the school clothes, you got into the play clothes. Um, Nowadays, like I said, the kids were wearing their pants down around their knees, and they weren't their size; they were their parents' size. It was terrible, and my own children went through that phase, and we just wouldn't buy it. So if they wanted something like that, and they wanted back then it was like $150 shoe from Nike. I'm not paying anybody $150 for a pair of shoes. I'm just not going to do that. They got 10 cents worth of work in there. Pay 30. I'm not doing this. So I've never done that. But the kids, thank God, grew out of that. Then there was the piercings. They all had to pierce their noses, their navels, their I, strange places. I'll put it that way. Like down here, over here. I mean, I've actually seen them in their cheeks and stuff. That didn't last long with my kids either. Thank you, Lord. They had the tongue piercings, and I kept threatening if they ever got this, so they went to it anyway. But then they grew up, and they found that you're not going to get a job if you've got all those piercings and tattoos on your face and all that. But I have seen my grandson's generation do just that. A lot of tats, and in some cases on the face, especially the neckline and these sleeve tattoos where it takes everything. Don't do that. You're going to do like the rest of us. You're going to age, and skin changes as you age. Um, it's not going to look as good as it should or it did when you were 20. So think really hard about what you think that thing might look like when you are 60. It probably won't be your better future. It's just like with me now. I take that medication and I won't give that up because it's not narcotic and helps me to fight the pain from the seizures and all that I go through. But it made me gain weight. And I look in a mirror or I see a picture nowadays. Sometimes I don't like it. Most of the time I agree with it, and it's kind of leveled out. Robert's been pretty good about it with the fat jokes. So it's like bang, bing, bada boom, everywhere you go. I had one girl say, and I usually I dress kind of, if you'll see me for a while, you'll see it's a little eclectic. Um, I might be in a Scottish tartan. I might be in a medieval gown. I might be in a floor length formal. I might be in a business suit. There's just no talent. Uh, as far as jeans go, again, men don't wear those. Get, let's get rid of that line for men because it just doesn't work. I have yet to see any man show up in skinny jeans and look good, or skinny pants, as it be with the suits. It's don't get rid of that. Even most women can't wear the skinny jeans. Now they got they're smart. They're skinny jeans still, but they're still a size 25. So they get bigger. Now I didn't have a specific topic. Again, I just didn't. Um, I see a lot of them. These podcasts where we're just sitting here talking to ourselves and hoping somebody listening. I do need to find a better time slot, and that's my decision. I'm usually better during the morning hours because my pain ratchets up through the day. So the more I do by 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm on a heating pad and taking my medication because I hurt too bad to do anything else by 5 o'clock. So I informed my husband, I love these guys. And the kids, of course, like I said, are grown, got grown grandkids. All the grandkids are just about grown. And so I informed him that from now on, I was literally getting off at 5 o'clock, meaning dinner needed to be done, dishes need to be done. You know, if you want to run around with your friends and say you're working or whatever it is you're doing, that's great too. You're grown. However, you don't put dirty dishes in the sink after the dishes are run. You don't come in at 5:30 and say what's for dinner like it's goddamn Denny's. I don't know if you other ladies get this from your husbands, but it's annoying as hell. Don't come up to me at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, and you've had all day to say, can you throw this together or will you? Suddenly, for wives, you don't get will you, can you, please, may I, thank you. You get, you do this, you do that. Screw you. I'm a wife. I'm not somebody you kick around and tell me what to do. If I need a daddy, I'll go get another adopted one. I mean, just what is wrong with you people? And when you retire, you think you're women, they're waitresses and you're at Denny's. You just walk in and order the steak plate. That ain't how that shit works. You got to unthaw something. You got to cook something, which is going to get all dirty everywhere with grease. Then you've got all these plates. Then you've got all this stuff to clean. You got the counters to clean. And by the time you're done with that, it's 9:30. And that's just wrong, ladies. Don't do it anymore. Now I accommodated him when he had a crazy ass schedule because he was a truck driver and a mechanic. But I don't know. I already stated with my health problems, I'm not going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and start my work and keep going until 8 o'clock at night. So we're kind of going back and forth because he still seems to think that he can walk in the door and say what's for dinner at 7:30. It's not freaking Denny's. It's just not. So if you men are watching this, learn. That's your wife. She is not your slave. She's not your cook. She doesn't do your laundry. She's not your housekeeper. She's not your accountant. She's certainly not running a Denny's. She's not your washerwoman. She's not your housekeeper. Wake up. You need to treat your wives like you appreciate what they bloomin' do. And you live in that house too. Clean a fracking toilet once in a while without a ticker tape parade. Because I see with this one, I've been shocked at. If he takes out the trash, it's a monumental day. We're supposed to throw a ticker tape parade, kiss his ass. I'm sorry, but I take out the trash every day for the last 12 years alone at home while I'm so sick and my back is so bad. But I didn't have anybody to cry to, and I didn't want to. Had I had somebody. Now I have a son that's an exit up from me. I got a grandson that's 2 miles down the road from me. Do you think? No, they didn't have time. I can understand my son. his hours are incredibly long. So are my grandsons. But it's not like any of the men, the few men that are in my family, have ever asked me, "Do you need some help in doing anything?" Like even on the weekends. Oh no, no. And I understand that too. I was 20 something once. I wouldn't have probably done it. Wasn't living near home anyway. I'd have had to fly 5 states in or another country in. But when I'm as retired as my husband, and it's causing a problem, and I told him last year that I was now going to be off, period, by 5 o'clock. So the kitchen's closed, the dishes are done, counters are clean, stuff is picked up. Leave it alone. If you've got dirty dishes, you best wash them by hand, or you better get them into the dish rack before I turn it on, because it's not freaking fair to walk up and say what's for dinner at 6 p.m. Again, I'm not Denny's. I'm your wife. And I mean, you go out and you buy this huge RV because you know how bad my back is and how little I can do in a day. And if I push it beyond that point, I'm in such agony, I might not be able to get up for 2 days. And, he knows that, but then still does that, what's for dinner? Oh, no, damn it. What the hell you think's for dinner? You get your ass in there, look in the kitchen. I done talked to him twice. He never said nothing about dinner. And then you get the, oh, well, you're supposed to make dinner. You're here. No, no. I don't know when you're, what you doing, when you coming in, what you going to eat. Seriously. That doesn't, it's not rocket science, for God's sake. When you talk to me at 12, you could have said, hey, we might want to take the hamburger meat out. It's so and so, and I'll make spaghetti or whatever. And then he seems to be having trouble getting through on that one. So all you ladies out there who have retired and are still kowtowing because the men say this or that, I hope that's not happening in any other home but mine. And I do believe that should be stopped immediately. And I'm working on that end. And it's, well, you should have known to make dinner. Sure, I knew to make dinner. I knew you was going to be here by 9. What the hell? So, men, if you're watching this, don't treat your wives like that. They don't deserve that. They deserve much more. And they deserve that respect that they have already worked a 12-hour day. Now, I did that with 2 jobs and still came home, did laundry, cleaned my house, and not one finger was lifted but my own. And at this point in my life, I'm not going to, I mean, you can't get out of life alive. So I want all you women out there, if you've got the same thing going on, hit me in the comments because I'd like to know how to teach them a lesson about that crap. That's got to go. I don't know if it has to go with a lawyer per se, but I think it's a prevailing problem in the baby boomer generation, in particular because of the military. You're separated while you're in the military. You're used to doing it. With him, he's a lifetime truck driver, so he's basically was never here. And so, I was always doing it myself. But now that he's at home, there's not just one person making a mess in the house. There's not just one person saying, "Well, let's just have a sandwich, so I don't have to do dishes." There are 2 people, and apparently, I'm the new gopher, and I quit. I am off at 5. If dinner isn't ready by 5, then it won't be done that day. If you want to come in and say, "Oh, why didn't you cook? Why didn't you kiss my," yeah, grits. Because that's the stupidest bloody thing I've ever really heard a man say is to come in and you've got no idea when they're coming in, what the heck they're doing. And they come in and want to know why dinner ain't ready. It's enough to make you shoot them in the face. It really is. And then they have an attitude like, "Oh, well, you should have done this. You should have opened your damn mouth at noon." I mean, again, it's not rocket science. You don't walk into your house and tell your wife, "Why don't you do this and why don't you do that? Why don't you kiss my grits?" I mean, I want to know how many other women are getting this because I don't believe for a second it's just me. And I know his family. My family's all gone except for my own line, my children. But his mother would have popped him. I mean, and I admire his mama. She didn't take no guff from nobody, but she'd have popped his ass if he'd have told that to his mama. And people need to remember their manners and remember that their wives deserve the same blooming things. that we deserve our respect too. And don't say to your wife, well, you didn't do anything really. You've been home. Yeah, I washed 6 loads of laundry, changed 2 sets of beddings, put another set of beddings up, vacuumed, swept, swiffered, mopped, used the shampooer on the rugs, put all those back down. But that's not work. But you get one of them. I mean, recently he was wanting to have company, and I said, "But that's fine. You are going to clean up. I'm not going to do it. You didn't give me any time. You go ahead and dust this. You do that. You take out this trash." And you had to tell him. They didn't know because they'd never done it. So you have to tell them. And then they got a problem because you're trying to. I don't know how they all the men worded, but it's you're too bossy. Well, they am straight up bossy. I always was bossy. We've been together for years. When knows I'm bossy. I'm a straight up bitch. You look up in the dictionary, it says, "See her, she will train you." there's, so there's a line, though, ladies. There's a line you got to put up there and again say here and no further. And I've over a year. It's not like anybody didn't have an idea. I also do not want company coming to my door 8 o'clock at night because, again, I get off at 5 for a reason. Sometimes I have to take a sitz bath and soak and cry at the same time because it's so painful. And then I can go get on my heating pad, take my medication, and pray it works. And so 5 o'clock is it for me. If you're not done, I am. Don't make a mess in my kitchen. Don't bring down dirty dishes and set them in the sink after the dishes are washed. Because if you do, I'm going to start throwing them away. I'm not playing. I don't. No, I'm not playing at all. So they need to get that. Put that in a row. They need to recognize that the female, the wife, whatever they want to call us, the old lady's a fun term. I like that. The old man is the one that's the problem. So if they do that, ladies, remind them you do the same thing. Why do we have to clean up for everybody else? Why am I expected to do your dinner? How old are you? Why am I expected to wash your clothes? Where are you going today? No, they used to call that slavery. I don't know what they're calling it today, but I call it indentured servitude, and I'm not playing. I mean, I don't care how many people think I'm right or wrong on this, but I would enjoy seeing it in the comments section. This is why it's only for entertainment purposes because we actually want somebody to give us some feedback and go, okay, it's not just me. There's a lot of women out here. A lot of us hippies have worked 2 jobs too, right next to the dudes. And this, you can't let this fly, and I'm not gonna. There's a schedule now, and then the fat old lady with all the health problems is off duty. So you can't come in at 6 o'clock at night and say what's for dinner. I will shoot you. I mean, I will end you. Either you learn the schedule or just don't come in after 5. So it'll be interesting to me to see how many chats I get there. I see I don't have any on live today, and I'm going to probably switch to afternoons to broadcast. But these are the things I wanted to talk about because these are the things, this is everyday life, and it's fascinating. And we have a medium where all of us can reach out and say something and leave a mark on this planet that we were here once and that hey, yeah, we won the right to vote. Yeah, we won the right to actually work and take care of the house, take care of the kids, do all of the work. And you worked, period. That was it. Your clothes were cleaned and hung up in the closet. Your toilet was washed. Your dishes were cleaned. They get that for 30 years and they're still not happy because at 6 o'clock they walk in and act like it's Denny's is never going to put me in a good mood and probably it should not put any other woman in a good mood either. Generally, he understands the fact that, and I'm cranky because I hurt so much that if you can't understand that after this amount of marriage, we have a problem. And it ain't me, it's about to be yours. He also knows I go from 0 to bitch in less than a nanosecond. And most of the time, I mean, he's very good about being calm. He's the calm to my storm. But there are, like I said, this line here and no further, because I'm not one of those women that you boss around. I'm not one of those women that come in. I've done it. I did it. I'm not doing it anymore. I quit. I'm retired. Either wrap your head around it, or we'll have to go another way around this because I'm not budging. I'm not doing it. Health wise, I can't do it. And this is known as well, which is another reason it makes me cranky. Beyond cranky, really. So give me some comments down there. Hit the like, tickle the bell. You're gonna It's free subscription. You can see me anytime. I check constantly as much as I can throughout the day to see what the comments are and try to get back to everybody. I do. Once I get past 1,000, I can throw up the Patreon page, and I've already picked out a line of merchandise that are going to be so cool for the hippies, for we hippies. I think it's going to be cool. Day came back anyway, so I mean it's not going to be hard. But I can't do this without you guys, and I definitely want to hear from the retired women who've worked all their lives and taken care of the homes and done every bit of the work. The guy comes home, eats, and goes to bed, watches TV. That's not how it worked at me. I mean, I was still doing work. I would put in a load of clothes at night and get up the next morning, throw them in the dryer, and throw another load in. I mean, it was work 24/7 at my house, and the kids helped sometimes. But Robert's job was outdoors, as I was informed. Um, I don't care what his job is now. My job is done. I'm retired. I'll be off at 5. If there's dirty dishes in that sink and you put them there, you won't see them again because I'm going to throw them away. And you can buy the new ones. So I want to know how many other women feel like I do. And if you don't feel that way, I want to know why. But I see my time is running by so fast. There's too many things to talk about, hippies. Too many. I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy being called a hippie. It was a lot of fun when we were hippies. We're kind of fun now. We have these little ticks, like the 5 o'clock thing with me. That's a little tick, a little bit. And it'd be easy to push me over the edge because it's like a little bit further and boom. I don't back down either. And I've had enough. I have a right to retire and enjoy what few years I have left too, without indentured servitude to what is supposed to be a husband who made the fucking mess to begin with. Excuse my French. So I'm going to get off of here. Y'all call me, get on my page, throw something at me. At least throw a like at me. Come on. I got to get 1,000 of those. I would actually have to have 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys would throw that in there, it's free. You can take 30 seconds to take it off. And ladies, get back to me. And I would love to find out if we hippies, if that's the situation in every home, that the men do what they want and then they say, "What's for dinner?" And it's 6 o'clock at night. So I want to know if I'm the only one that gets that, or if everybody else's husbands are doing the same thing. I don't believe for a second it's being done that to make you, or for me anyway, angry. And I have a very good husband. He's very, very, very helpful. This just happens to be a bone of contention right now with me because now we are both at home. So I don't believe that one person should carry the weight of two. And I get the cutest information back. Well, it only takes a minute to do it. They don't want to do it, but they will tell you, well, you can do that. It only takes a few minutes. Is that too hard for you? And it insults you at the same time. Really? And they think I will run off in there and do something. You people don't even know me. You could know the answer to that, don't you? Well, there's not much of a cheering note today, I'm afraid. So everybody get out there, kick the damn day in the ass, and call me back later. Toodles.